Newcastle United getting beat at the Etihad. Newcastle United failing to take chances in the final third. Two headlines that aren't really going to shock anyone. For fuck's sake. It's the Manchester City match reaction, so make sure you stick around, Newcastle fans. Welcome back to Black and White Banter, you lovely, lovely Toon fans, wherever you may be watching this video from. If you are new to Black and White Banter, or if you're not new, regardless, give us a little likey. If you haven't, by the end of this video, whack that subscribe to watch more of my stuff. I wasn't able to get down to the Etihad today. I actually had a ticket. I did have a ticket which I had to pass on because I couldn't find anyone to look after my D-roll dog, Maggie. If anyone knows of any dog carers in the local area, please let me know that don't cost an arm and a leg, because I can't keep missing away days. I don't like doing these match reactions in the house when I've had to watch the game on telly. It's not for me. So we lost another game at the Etihad. I don't think that comes as too much of a shock to anyone. Awful record down there. We normally get battered. Failed to create chances in the... failed to take chances in the final third. Don't think that's going to come as too much of a shock to anyone. But my God, was that one frustrating. We've gone to one of the best teams in the world today. Let's not sugarcoat who Man City are. They are one of the best teams we will play year upon year. And we've matched them. We've absolutely matched them. We've matched them in the centre of the park. We've matched them pretty much defensively. We've kept players like Haaland quiet. But we are, again, getting screwed over by the fact we cannot take our chances. In that second half, we were actually the better team. It's really frustrating, that one. It is. We didn't expect too much today. You've got to be a very optimistic fan to go down to Manchester City the week after a cup final defeat and expect the result, especially the form we've been in. But we were pretty good today. Going into the match, there was a lot of selection concerns. Eddie Howe was taking a battering on Twitter, which just sums up Twitter for me. It's a toxic, toxic world. Be very careful. It's shark-infested waters sometimes. But I wasn't overly happy with the team. Lascelles came in, which I'm not a huge fan of. Isak wasn't in. He went with Wilson instead. And obviously Gordon made his first start for Newcastle as well. Now, before we get into the match, let's just talk about Lascelles first and foremost. I thought he did well. He came out with a lot of credibility. He made some crucial tackles. He was aggressive. He kept Haaland very quiet. He ushered him at times. Passionate as our captain. I don't think Lascelles had a bad game. We know his distribution's not on par with Share. Of course it's not. But generally speaking, he wasn't the reason we lost that game today. So fair play to Mr. Lascelles, who hasn't played much football recently. Callum Wilson was better, I think, in terms of his movement and he's in and around the box. But generally speaking, Isak must be wondering what he has to do to get in that team. Isak comes on, looks brilliant. I'll talk more about that later in the video. And Callum Wilson has to take that chance when it falls to him from the cross from the right-hand side. It's meat and drink for a striker. It's a crucial time in the game. He has to take that chance. And that's the Callum Wilson we're seeing. He seems hungover from the World Cup. I think he's absolutely bust his ball sack to get in the World Cup squad. We were all delighted for him. It's a dream come true going to Qatar. And ever since then, he just looks exhausted. He's had a couple of injuries here and there, and he just doesn't look the same player. He's not running the channels like we've seen Isak doing when he comes on. He was better today at trying to hold that ball up. He was quite isolated, but generally speaking, no, Isak needs to play in the next match. For whatever reason, Eddie Howe is staying maybe loyal to Wilson. Maybe he thinks he's more of a natural goal scorer. I don't know, but something needs to give there. Anthony Gordon, I don't think today was the best opportunity for Gordon to play his first full game. He had flashes. I think he's raw. I do. His decision-making at times is a bit questionable, trying little fancy flick-ons and leaving the ball, trying to skin defenders. His decision-making isn't there. His passion is. His work rate is. There is a player, and that's why Eddie Howe wanted him, but maybe today wasn't the best day to showcase him. If he's going to play against Wolves at home next Sunday, that might be a different story. So that was the players who sort of came in. Generally speaking, the match, I thought that was better than any of us expected. I really do. We had lots of the ball. We are used to going to Man City and being dominated. I went down last year when we got beat 5-0 under Eddie Howe. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't nice. But today, we controlled things. Man City weren't necessarily at the races. We had all of the ball. We were so much better than them in that first part of the second half. Isak and Maxi came on and it looked like we were going to get back into the game, and then they get the sucker punch of the second goal. And from there, we couldn't pick ourselves back up from that. 2-0 down when we were on top is a hammer blow. If it goes 2-0 and you're already playing shit, fair enough, you don't know what can happen in the last sort of half an hour, but when you're at your peak and then you go 2-0 down out of the blue, it's just mentally an absolute kick in the ball sack. And that's what happened. We didn't pick ourselves back up after that. I was devastated. I was fucking so frustrated when that second goal went in. But generally speaking, we've been good today. And the goals, first one for me, yes, it's so unlucky. And Sven Botman, the poor kid, has had 2 deflected goals bounce off him in the last 2 matches. He must be wondering who he's pissed off in previous weeks to have this bad luck. So unfortunate because Pope's saving it otherwise. But generally speaking, Dan Burns, sir, you cannot let Phil Foden, as he did lots of times in that match, come in with ease like he did, breeze past you, and then Anthony Gordon goes in with a half-hearted shoulder barge, Bruno goes in with a half-hearted shoulder barge because they don't want to give away a penalty, and it's all too easy. It is. Second goal, Kieran Trippier tries to play a nice cute pass in a narrow, little close bit of space. It doesn't work. Then we on the back foot. Could we get a little bit tighter to the players before Bernardo Silva receives the ball? Maybe. And then it's just an instinctive finish. Pope has no chance. Again, at that crucial time in the game. So I'm not looking at the second goal too much with criticism because Trippier has to maybe try and take risks and play those fancy passes at times. I don't know. But it's just a frustrating one today. And I'm not coming out of it too disheartened. How can we be? We didn't expect much. But the progress we've made in a year is we go into Man City and we are not getting battered, we taking the game to them, we're worrying them. And on another Newcastle United team, we are scoring them chances. The Newcastle team before Christmas, we are taking them chances. Callum Wilson's scoring, Joe Linton's probably scoring from the cross. And we are. So I'm not too disheartened from that. Don't forget, we've come into this game on the back of a Wembley hangover. To pick yourselves up after a cup final defeat, the emotion that goes into a cup final, everything with that, even as fans, and they know what the fans felt after that match, the aftermath of it, is great. And I'm really, really happy with the performance today. But that final third is worrying. And the only thing I'm concerned about now is that European football might slip through our fingertips. And I don't like to see it, but 5th can become 6th, can become 7th, can become 8th. All we need is other teams like Liverpool have done recently to start picking up in form. And that's what we've been saved by a little bit. The fact that your Chelsea's and whatnot are doing shite. But I don't see how the goal scoring thing's going to change. I don't. Attacking performances from me today. I've mentioned Callum Wilson wasn't probably at the races again. Almiron, I'm sorry. Miguel Almiron has been a passenger since the Leicester game on Boxing Day when we won 3-0. Yes, we all love his smiley face and his work rate, but he's not doing enough. And Eddie Howe, for me, in the next match, now that Man City's out the way, has to shake things up in an attacking sense. He does. For me, Maximin has to come in on the right-hand side where we know he's been effective in the past. Keep Gordon on the left. Let's see what he can do. And Isak needs to come in for Wilson. Isak offered so much when he came on today. Running the channels, getting at players, taking players on, intent. Almost scored. He's looking the player that we've paid all that money for. And you've got to wonder why is a player that's cost £58 million not starting for us? Is Eddie Howe still concerned about his fitness or adapting to the Premier League? I don't know. But he's looking a player when he starts. And that's why Wolves at home is a fantastic opportunity for us to finally get 3 points on the board again. So there we go. Almiron for me, though, just no. And I know I was a critic of Almiron before his purple patch. His purple patch is well and truly over now. And he's just not offering enough. And he hasn't offered enough for a long time. Defensively, Dan Burn, he's not doing enough. He's not offering much going forward, as we would never expect a player of Dan Burn to. But as a left-back, defensively, he's not been good enough. I didn't think he was very good in the cup final. He was piss-poor at Bournemouth. He wasn't great at home to West Ham when we drew 1-1. And today, Foden had a field day with him. He did. Man City didn't really attack us as much as they would have liked because we were quite good with the ball. But Dan Burn, when he was up against Foden, I had to turn away because it was never looking good. And the first goal proved that. So Dan Burn needs to be mixed up. Matt Targett came off the bench today. I would like to see a left-back like Matt Targett back at left-back, even if it's just for a couple of games, even if it's to wake Dan Burn up, who we all love. I'm not slating the player and saying he's shite. I'm just saying you cannot just start in a team week after week because of 6 months previous his reputation and performances. It's all about now, and Dan Burn hasn't been good for a couple of weeks now. And we're getting found out a little bit on the right-hand side from opposing teams week in, week out at the moment. And that worries me. It really, really does, because Wolves next week have pace. So that's what I would look to do. Midfield, I think Joe Linton's now out for 2 games. That's a huge loss. Death, taxes and a Joe Linton yellow card are the 3 guarantees in life. But we'll just have to deal with that. That's over now. He's banned. Let's get it done and dusted. So you have to make a change there. Probably Willock will come in. Let's face it, Bruno, Longstaff and Willock. So that kind of picks itself, you can argue. But Eddie Howe needs to make some changes because we aren't just going to suddenly start scoring goals with the same team, in my opinion. Yes, maybe once one goes in, confidence might come back. But we aren't. It's not just going to click. It really isn't. And I think a couple of players need a bit of a shake-up because for us not to get European football now would be heartbreaking. I would have been happy with top 10 in a cup run at the start of the year. We've had a Wembley Cup final, which has been amazing. But for us not to get any European football now, not only is it a tragedy for our progression to sign new players in the summer with the money that will be spent, but just in general, it will be heartbreaking. So that's where I think, let's mix it up. Wolves at home, fantastic opportunity. But let's not be too disheartened by today. We were good. We really were. But plenty positive performances. And I tell you what, Eddie Howe and them players will be coming out off that pitch today, focusing more on the positives than the negatives. Because let's face it, the only negatives were maybe slightly sloppy goals that we conceded and not taking chances in the final third. And that's been a frustration for them players and manager now for weeks. So much to be happy about in that game. There really is. That's why I said at the start of the video, don't be too disheartened. Shots at goal, I'm still a little bit concerned about this Newcastle team not wanting to take a shot. It's pass. Joe Linton doesn't want to have a shot. Bruno doesn't like he might have once over. It's final pass. Almiron's cutting in now and trying to look for the final pass, and it normally breaks down. You've got to buy a ticket to win the lottery, and we're just not shooting at the moment. That's frustrating me a little bit. You might get a bobble, you might get a second ball, you might cause the keeper a problem. Got to do more of that. But I've got no doubts about it. A win is on the horizon. Wolves at home, Nottingham Forest away, winnable fixtures. Those chances will come, but Eddie Howe needs to make those changes and mix it up, in my opinion. He really, really does. Because attacking-wise, it's not working, and it hasn't been for a while. So with these options that he has at his disposal, it needs to be mixed up. It really, really does. So hopefully that happens in the next match. But hey, Newcastle fans, let me know your thoughts. Are we going to slip out of them European places? Please fucking say we don't. Are you confident going into the next match? And what did you think of today's performance? Were you happy with that, or are you still really, really disappointed and going home pissed off if you're at the match today? Let me know your thoughts. Whack that like button, and if you've stuck around this long, you may as well hit the subscribe. I will hopefully be at the Nottingham Forest game. I do not like this sitting at home watching Newcastle matches, malarkey. It's terrible. So I'll see you on the next video. Go and enjoy your weekend. There's still plenty of it left. Plenty positives. Plenty to go into the next game. Onwards and upwards, Newcastle fans. Away the lads.